background, and I'm just like, okay, you know what? Do it. So anyway, that's pretty much it. You guys have read the book or haven't read it at some point. If you want to ask me questions, or ask me.
I have a few questions, and feel free to comment on any of these, some or none. I'm just going to put out there maybe 5 or 6 points, and really conversation pieces more than anything else. Let me say something, Frank, before I get to the questions. I'm reading here one of the squares from Roqueto, and this is what the character is saying. So I'll just read that out and do just listen to the words as you are not looking at it. We're looking for the hidden sea. That's already such an amazing premise. It's hard to hide away seas, hide away islands, but there's something going on here where the island is isolated to be redundant, right? And islands are an exception, whereas continents are the norm, right? It's changing places. And we have here the following. The hidden sea was first mapped by Orlando, that's how I pronounce it, right? Garrison, my great-great-grandfather. Years ago, pirates of the Great Atlas Ocean found its quiet coves, a perfect refuge from the royalist fleets. After the years, the pirates founded the towns you see there today. The name Cova, with a K, means prosperity in the native tongue. And you can't fail to think about Cuba, Cova, and this. And I'm just imagining, but from what you tell us, maybe that's not too far off the mark. This autobiographical dimension to work with, I think is maybe as present in yours as in Marcela's, which is more explicitly autobiographical. So that was just one commentary, right? One comment.
You want to talk about that?
If absolutely, I mean, that's right. Yeah.
Well, like any type of mythology has to have a little grounding in reality. And in this case, when you're creating a mythological world, that's like Star Wars, it's a mythological universe. It's hard to ground, Star Wars in reality. But it's easier because it's live action. You see live, But when you're doing a comic, so in creating this new map of the world, I had to keep some names similar because I thought that would ground the reader in this experience. Otherwise, you start to get lost, and it's like, what the hell is this, So, but yes, Cova to me, later on, Cova gets smashed by this storm and blown until there's nothing left. And that was my kind of playing around with the idea that, Cubans, many Cubans at the time felt that something kind of overwhelming had hit them and they had to move.
Revolution?
Yeah, it happens to every country, so it's, but it was my playing around with it and how it moves. But it's also part of the whole hero's journey that the hero usually doesn't want to go, but he's kicked into going into this thing. So this was, moving him forward.
And talking about playing around, Cova is a small island measuring just 90 square miles. Oops. Interesting. Yeah, and that being the nautical miles distance.
No, it is Cuba, and it is.
But so it's not like I rest my case. It is Cuba, but this is just a layer which, depending on the let me put it this way: that the target age of your reader, and I know that this is one possible reader is going to be the teenager. I mean, this is a thriller which brings to mind.
We're lucky to be a teenager.
Which brings to mind the work of Emilio Salgari, for instance, right? Or Jules Verne. But as in those folks, when that teenager grows into some other readings, he's going to he or she is going to see all these other layers that are there, and that's something that's really interesting. The autobiographical, the political. Let me segue into comments about Marcela. You distance yourself from politics quite a bit, Marcela, but the personal is political. That is, a common commonplace, but it's an important commonplace, and it wasn't always a commonplace. Anyways, there's a political statement that you're making that's truly powerful, and I think it's fair to say that Chile and Chilean society can be, some of it, one of the most conservative in all of Latin America. I come from Colombia, so that's a big thing to say, right? But you know, yes, there's one of your, I don't think there's too much truth in this reading, but we talked about this the other day. One of your critics, of your readers, says that you are a feminist Robert Crumb, right? Calls you a feminist Robert Crumb. And you know, it's interesting because something like Robert Crumb could have never taken place in Chile because it was too racy, you know, too, I mean, what's going on? Too pornographic, right? To put the word out there. And what you are doing politically is usurping that side of enunciation and putting it, I think, to good use. So you see there's, you know, politics underlying both of your works, biography, crisscrossing here and there. And let me ask you, you know, about the culture industry, and I think tomorrow we'll hear some more about it. In the U.S., for good and for worse, there's a culture industry around comics, and you have worked in the belly of the beast, as you were telling us. There is Marvel, there is Comic Con, there's a huge, you know, world out there for comics. In Latin America, there are some cultural, you know, industries. There is in Mexico, and Mexico has, you know, big numbers and some heroes, you know, for one. There's some authors that get published quite a bit. There is a bit of a cultural industry in Argentina, but for the most part, and my colleagues know more about this than I do, there isn't a cultural industry around comics. What do you make of that? I mean, because you are in a bit of a reverse situation. Frank, I mean, you're not this. You are working for Image and not for Marvel or DC. That's clear. But you benefit from the fact that there is a cultural industry. And then I wonder, Marcela, if at the same time you benefit from the fact that in Chile there is no cultural industry around comics. So, you know, just a topic of conversation.
The cultural industry that is here is all superhero related, and it's sometimes better not to have a cultural industry. If it's all going to be dominated by one genre, it's very strong. It's all, you know, these books, they don't come close to the amount of attention or selling power that a Batman or those 52 books that DC launched again. So, in a way, independent books here are fighting just as rough as anywhere else. I mean, you know, the Western is still unexplored, you know, sort of in comics. I mean, now they're doing more horror stuff, but there's still a lot of, I mean, the personal books that artists would write, biographical books are still few and far between. So, you know, this domination by guys in capes is really strong. But yeah, there's a good side that people actually now buy comics in a bookstore now on Amazon, you know, but still.
And how about you, Marcela? Would you like there to be like many different presses and publishing all the time in comics in Chile?
When I came back to Chile, there was none publisher that could publish comics. None. There were like fanzines and some independent publications. And I was completely sure that there was going to be a future. Like in the future, there were going to be some publishers that were going to publish comic books from authors, like not superheroes. Because in the United States, in New York, that happened as a normal thing. You know, I knew that the people who bought comics were cartoonists, and that's it. All my friends who were, you know, visual artists, they didn't buy comics. They didn't ever go to a